أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والذاريات ذروا فالحاملات وقرا فالجاريات يسرا فالمقسمات أمرا إنما توعدون لصادق وإن الدين لواقع والسماء ذات الحبك إنكم لفي قول مختلف يؤفك عنه من أفك قتل الخراصون الذين هم في غمرة ساهون يسألون أيان يوم الدين يوم هم على النار يفتنون ذوقوا فتنتكم هذا الذي كنتم به تستعجلون إن المتقين في جنات وعيون آخذين ما آتاهم ربهم إنهم كانوا قبل ذلك محسنين كانوا قليلا من الليل ما يهجعون وبالأسحار هم يستغفرون وفي أموالهم حق للسائل والمحروم وفي الأرض آيات للموقنين وفي أنفسكم أفلا تبصرون وفي السماء رزقكم وما توعدون فورب السماء والأرض إنه لحق مثل ما أنكم تنطقون هل أتاك حديث ضيف إبراهيم المكرمين إذ دخلوا عليه فقالوا سلاما قال سلام قوم منكرون فراغ إلى أهله فجاء بعجل سمين فقربه إليهم قال ألا تأكلون فأوجس منهم خيفة قالوا لا تخف وبشروه بغلام عليم فأقبلت امرأته في صرة فصكت وجهها وقالت عجوز عقيم قالوا كذلك قال ربك إنه هو الحكيم العليم قال فما خطبكم أيها المرسلون قالوا إنا أرسلنا إلى قوم مجرمين لنرسل عليهم حجارة من طين مسومة عند ربك للمسرفين فأخرجنا من كان فيها من المؤمنين فما وجدنا فيها غير بيت من المسلمين وتركنا فيها آية للذين يخافون العذاب الأليم وفي موسى إذ أرسلناه إلى فرعون بسلطان مبين فتولى بركنه وقال ساحر أو مجنون فأخذناه وجنوده فنبذناهم في اليم وهو مليم وفي عاد إذ أرسلنا عليهم الريح العقيم ما تذر من شيء أتت عليه إلا جعلته كالرميم وفي ثمود إذ قيل لهم تمتعوا حتى حين فعتوا عن أمر ربهم فأخذتهم الصاعقة وهم ينظرون فما استطاعوا من قيام وما كانوا منتصرين وقوم نوح من قبل إنهم كانوا قوما فاسقين والسماء بنيناها بأيد وإنا لموسعون والأرض فرشناها فنعم الماهدون ومن كل شيء خلقنا زوجين لعلكم تذكرون ففروا إلى الله إني لكم منه نذير مبين ولا تجعلوا مع الله إلها آخر إني لكم منه نذير مبين كذلك ما أتى الذين من قبلهم من رسول إلا قالوا ساحر أو مجنون أتواصوا به بل هم قوم طاغون فتول عنهم فما أنت بملوم وذكر فإن الذكرى تنفع المؤمنين وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون منهم من رزق وما أريد أن يطعمون إن الله هو الرزاق ذو القوة المتين فإن للذين ظلموا ذنوبا مثل ذنوب أصحابهم فلا يستعجلون فويل للذين كفروا من يومهم الذي يوعدون.
Disasters or emergencies often happen with little or no warning, leaving behind devastation that can last for generations. 4 years of severe conflict have submerged Syria's people into darkness. Over 200,000 Syrians have been killed. Over 2 million homes have been damaged or destroyed. With almost half the population uprooted, it is regarded as the biggest refugee crisis since World War II. Millions are barely surviving, lacking the basic necessities including food, water and shelter. Human appeal is on the ground in Syria and neighbouring countries, delivering flour, food parcels and healthcare to the worst affected. Last year's conflict in Gaza had a devastating impact. Over 2,000 Gazans were killed, most of them civilians, including 500 children. 1 year on, the people of Gaza are struggling to survive. The conflict might be over, but the nightmare isn't. Neighborhoods have been leveled by the bombing, with survivors living in the rubble. The condition of children's health is deteriorating due to lack of adequate food, clean water and shelter. As summer approaches, it will be increasingly difficult for the people of Gaza and Syria to survive in the soaring temperatures. This is a time of crisis, a time for us all to come together, a time to care and to act. In their time of darkness, let's be the light they need.
أفرأيت إن متعناهم سنين ثم جاءهم ما كانوا يوعدون ما أغنى عنهم ما كانوا يمتعون
What did the Quran say about the universe? Muhammad lived in the desert. Maybe they did not know that there are oceans on earth, so how far they were knowing about the universe? Maybe one of them knew what deserved the Nobel Prize after 14th century. In 2011, 3 scientists, Brain Schulmet, Saul Perlmutter, Adam Rice, were awarded the Nobel Prize. They studied tens of supernovas, stellar explosions, and they found out that the rate of the universal expansion is increasing. The committee confirms that this discovery was surprising to everybody, even the winners of the prize. But Quran says it wasn't a surprise for actually everyone.
والسماء بنيناها بأيد وإنا لموسعون.
Thus, the Quran has been the first book since 14 centuries ago to point to the expansion of the universe. Quran said in the chapter of An'am, "And whomsoever it's Allah will to guide, He expandeth his bosom unto the Islam, and whomsoever it is his will to send astray, He maketh his bosom suffocated and narrow, as if he was uplifted in heaven. Thus Allah layeth ignominy upon those who believe not." The signs confirm that if someone ascends in the sky, he will feel suffocation because of lack of oxygen.
For how can an illiterate person declare facts that are so deeply scientific when no human being at this age was able to talk about these facts without making any mistakes during this declaration?
I'm not looking for Islam. I'm looking for the truth. Whenever, whatever, and wherever it is, I just want a proof.
Second, the miraculous scientific aspect of the Quran. There are some discoveries that were discovered lately in the 20th and the 21st century that made us understand some verses from the Quran that we couldn't fully understand before. And these are what many Muslims like to call the scientific miracles of the Quran. Many of them are really awesome. When people contemplate upon them, it's amazing, and it cannot be the word of a human being.
The Holy Quran is different from the divine books. It's different from all other religious books because it's filled with universal connotations.
The scientific miracle of the Holy Quran that it shows the detailed and accurate scientific reporting of the human body from the start of its conception in the womb, as well as other anatomy issues showing the developmental stages of man and his original creation. The Holy Quran has shown the detailed differential stages of the embryo using accurately minute and descriptive terms that totally comply with the actual developmental stages of the embryo. Allah, the one and only God, said,
وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً فِي قَرَارٍ مَكِينٍ ثُمَّ خَلَقْنَا النُّطْفَةَ عَلَقَةً فخلقنا العلقة مضغة فخلقنا المضغة عظاما فكسونا العظام لحما ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين.
Professor Dr. G.C. Goringer, the famous embryologist teaching at Georgetown University in the US, said, "The Quran's description and illustrations of man creation steps is the most accurate description that we or anyone will ever find."
But what's the element that's involved in every living cell in all organisms? This needs a biologist. But if you say in the desert 1400 years ago and told someone that everything you see has got water in its composition, he wouldn't have believed you for sure.
وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ كل شيء حي أفلا يؤمنون.
There was no proof of that fact until the microscope was invented. So, we had to wait till it was discovered that the protoplasm, which is the main substance in the cell, is about 80% water.
So in 1694 it was a theory which is called the pre-formation creation, and this is supported by Hartzucker, and he has shown that the man created from the sperm only, and he introduced a drawing to this which was laughing now if you see it. By 1839, the two Germans, Schwann and Schleiden, has identified the cells of a man, and they mentioned that this is the fundamental for the human creation. By 1985, those scientists has realized that the sperm is a living cell as well as the ovum.
خلق من ماء دافق يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب.
In the past decade, the scientific community recognized the test of falsification theory, which was presented by the Quran. If you claim this book is untruthful, do so to prove it. Write verses like this. Try to falsify its facts. For 14 centuries, no one could do it, which proves it's a true book.
In 1875, the German scientist Hertog has registered a notice for how the sperm fertilizes the ovum, and he proves by this time that they are equally participating in formation of the fertilized ovum, and by this time he was the first man to describe the fertilization process between the sperm and the ovum. So before all this, the Quran has described all these stages with a miraculous accuracy, showing the stages, the developmental stages arranged in a proper way without using any of these techniques and endoscopes.
There's a trait in the Quran that does not exist in any other book. When the Quran mentions certain information, it would say to the reader, there is not any manuscript that says, you didn't know it before, neither you nor your people. The polytheists of Mecca, who were in a fierce animosity with Islam, did not disclaim this information, saying that they are not new, or that they knew from where Muhammad brought this, or they already know it. They could never challenge the information because they were really new to them.
Professor Dr. Maurice Bucaille, the famous French surgeon, said, the full match between the Quran and modern science totally refutes and disapproves the assumptions made by those who claim and perceive that the Quran is the words of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So these arrangements, this is very comprehensive expressions from Quran, assure that these are the words of Allah, not sure words of any human being, including Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
When the Quran talks about the organisms, it shows extreme accuracy of expression. In Arabic, the verb changes according to gender. So the Quran uses the term that expresses the bees that build the bee cells are females. How did Muhammad know that? Also, when Quran talks about the ants, he said that
حتى إذا أتوا على واد النمل قالت نملة يا أيها النمل ادخلوا ادخلوا مساكنكم لا يحطمنكم سليمان وجنوده وهم لا يشعرون.
He said it's a female ant, and he proved that the ants have a female queen. Then Quran said that the ant talked to the other ants. This was a science fiction at that time. But that's exactly what Professor Robert Heitling discovered in the 90s. And after 6 years from studying that the insects are really talking with actual voice, after a few words there is another hint that the Quran used the term crack, not any other verbs. And now we know the ants have external solid skeleton that is actually cracked under pressure. How did Muhammad know these accurate facts?
Not only Professor Dr. Maurice Bucaille, the famous French surgeon, but also Professor Dr. Charles Baltimore, Professor of Neurosurgery at Cornell University in the United States, who said, after he knew of the verse 56 in Surah An-Nisa in Quran, where Almighty says, as often as their skins are roasted through, fully burnt, we shall change them for fresh skins that they may taste the penalty. After his acknowledgement of this verse, he thought and then said that the function of pain sensitivity and how it happens was something we needed to study for decades, and the Holy Quran said it in just one statement. So, what we will display next, if Allah wills, are some of the scientific facts mentioned in the Quran, or as I would like to call it always, the nectar of science that's potentially latent in the Holy Quran.
It's beyond geniality. All of these miracles, all of those facts, legislation, philosophy, astronomy, biology, without one mistake, without any one little mistake, it can never be a human feature.
Una de las cosas que más sorprende a los lectores occidentales del Sagrado Corán es que después de leer con detenimiento algunos de sus capítulos, encuentran que no es lo que esperaban y que mucho de lo que habían leído sobre él desaparece al leer unas cuantas páginas, por lo que pasa de ser un libro antiguo del desierto a un libro que responde a las preguntas actuales del hombre y se parece más a un mar de conocimiento que a otro libro más para apilar en nuestras bibliotecas. Cada verso del libro de Dios contiene conocimiento que puede ser percibido por los humanos al desarrollar las ciencias y desvelar los secretos del universo y la creación entera.
If this book is not a revelation, then it's a deception. If it's a deception, what's deceitful about it? Certainly, if the skeptics insist on their claims that the Quran is a deception, then they have to bring in evidence to support their claim. Otherwise, you would never have the right to do this.
Every night, homeless children in Dakar, Senegal sleep rough on the streets, but they face constant danger and exploitation. In response to this, the Empire Street Children's Center was set up. The center provides the children with shelter, meals, education and training programs. Many of them have suffered emotional and psychological trauma and are severely malnourished. Ausa, who is 9 years old, was forced to beg on the streets of Dakar for 4 years until a person he begged from took pity on him and brought him to the Empire Street Children's Centre. The centre supported Ausa by tailoring their care to his immediate needs and helping to put him back in touch with his family. 1 year later, Ausa is preparing to return home to his family once he's received medical treatment for his eye. Many children who come to the centre from an environment of violence and neglect have difficulty trusting people. However, the peaceful surroundings and the dedication of the staff go far to begin the necessary healing process, with the ultimate objective of reintegrating the children back into their families after a series of counselling sessions and rehabilitative treatments. The Empire Street Children's Centre is a safe haven where homeless children find comfort, nourishment and support towards a better future. Abdul Wahab is now 22 years old. He was brought to the centre 12 years ago. He was found on the streets begging, stealing and doing drugs. With the help of the dedicated staff, he has been able to turn his life around and is now like a big brother and mentor to the new street children coming into the centre. He now puts his talents to positive use by teaching Taekwondo to the younger children. They're not only taught to be responsible, but are trained in a range of creative outlets. For the first time in their lives, they are being empowered. They have found their voices and the confidence to use them. Please, sponsor this centre so it can reach out to more vulnerable children trying to survive on the streets of Dakar. Let's be the family they need.
My name is Anthea Kissoon. I am born and bred in London, England. My parents are from the Caribbean. My mother's Jamaican and my father's Trinidadian. I was brought up in South London, very kind of middle-class family for a black family. My father actually returned back to Trinidad when I was about 3 years old. But I was brought up in a very bustly, very loud house. I am the youngest of 6. My older brothers are a lot older than me. They're about 15, 16 years older than me. But being the youngest and the girl of the family was quite a struggle, was quite a challenge. I was left alone, which I kind of appreciate as an adult. Because I was allowed to develop, and I used to put myself into many different families because my mum was always working to keep the house and my brothers were off, you know, doing their thing, whether it was college, university, working, etc. So I was kind of left, you know, alone a lot, but I used to put myself into other people's families, and it's really strange because I chose the very kind of English conservative families. But I learnt a lot. I learnt about, you know, different people's cultures. I also put myself with another mixed family. They were part Muslim, part Christians, Pakistani and white. But they used to foster a lot of children. Although they had their own children, they used to also foster. So I used to spend a lot of time with them and learn a lot of you know, the ethics on how to be in a family more, because my family was quite, you know, dysfunctional, as in, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I didn't have a bad childhood. My childhood was filled with wonderful, you know, adventures, but to kind of have the role model of a family, it was, you know, I had to kind of seek that outside my family. But I think that brought me a wealth of, you know, knowledge and different experiences. I was brought up with Irish white families as well. So obviously my family being West Indian, we were very loud. A lot of music in our house, a lot of dancing. So yeah, my childhood was quite colourful. I went to a quite well-known school. I was always quite religious in the sense of I went to Sunday school. Most West Indian parents always sent their children to Sunday school. So every Sunday we'd get up and we'd get ready for church and we'd go out on the bus and we'd learn about the Bible. And I didn't have much of a problem with all of the stories of all the prophets and things like this. But at the age of 5, I actually decided to question the kind of head priest about Jesus, because they was trying to teach us about the Trinity, and they were trying to tell us that, Jesus is God and we have to pray to him, etc. But I didn't believe them, and I actually ran away from church at the age of 5. I think this for me was the beginning of my journey, because I actually didn't feel comfortable in the Christianity that I was brought up in. But obviously I still continued to go and learn. But as a teenager, I decided to search for myself. Wasn't looking for Islam. I actually thought that Islam was a religion that was only for the Asians and Arabs. Nobody had ever tried to tell me about Islam. I knew that I had some Pakistani friends and they were Muslim, but what's that? I don't know. I went to Hyde Park Corner one day to dispute, we wanted to talk about feminism, I think, and we wanted to try and, argue. We were quite, argumentative as teenagers. But this man, this English man, he had the biggest crowd. And we were like, why has he got this big crowd? And he was just preaching about, all the different prophets. And then he mentioned the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And this is, for me, the first time that I'd ever really heard about the Prophet Muhammad, and the fact that his message was the same as all the other prophets. And he said, how could this man 1400 years ago know about embryology, know about the 2 seas, know about space and all of these things, if he was not only illiterate, but there was no, microscopes and telescopes. And so, again, it was just, for me, common sense. This man must have been a prophet. He must have been, because the word was the same. He was coming to preach and tell us to believe in one God. This was a really big eye-opener for me. When I read in Islam now the stories of Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, I feel a really strong connection with him, because it was almost like I heard and I obeyed. I wanted to just become Muslim that day, because he left and he said, if you die in this state, then, you're going to die as a non-believer. So I was panicking, and I turned to my friend, who actually, her father was Moroccan, her mother was white, but she'd converted to Islam. And I said, we've got to go home, and I want to, become a Muslim. And it was insane. We just left, we got on the tube. I remember getting on the tube and going straight to her house and telling her family that, I want to convert, and they obviously had to get all the witnesses, etc. Honestly, I didn't think about things like hijab, giving up certain things, or adapting to 5 daily prayers. I just knew that in my heart, I believed that there was one God, and this religion had given me that.
But my knife's not very good, isn't it?
I think my family, they just thought that it was just another fad or another phase, because my brother, who is just a bit older than me, he's always kind of diving into different types of, religions and things like that.
This is my mum. Hello, say hi, Mum.
Hello.
Hi. Mum, can I just ask you, how was it when I became a Muslim?
A shock. very shocked. She was born and baptized as a
Catholic or Christian?
Catholic.
Okay.
And well, you know, when they get big, they do their own thing. Mom stay at the back. So I don't interfere with her. Whatever she wants, she do. Yeah? So I just go along with it, but I'm still...
But is it better that I'm a Muslim or not?
Well, it's quite better she be a Muslim and running around with other girls, you know, but I say I'm a Catholic and my family are Catholic and she want to go that way. I say good luck to her. It's your choice. I can't make any more choice for you. It's out of my hands now. And that's it. But and we get on fine. And I say, Assalamu alaikum. And somebody said to me, Mashallah. They said, and I said, alaikum salam. If they said to me, I said, alaikum salam. And I like that word. I like it. So that's it. You know, the kids them, they're becoming a Muslim as well, so it's their choice, a mom choice, not me. I'm the grandma. I can't say anything much because the government gave them all the rights, so I've got no more rights. Bring them as best as I can. Thank you very much. That's it. Okay, and I finished with my audience now.
My friends, I think they thought that it was a joke, but the thing is, in the beginning, I didn't actually really practice Islam, as in I wasn't a noticeable Muslim. I thought that back then to wear a hijab would mean to just cover your head with a bandana. So I used to have this bandana on the top of my head, but all my hair coming down, you know, and I thought that that was covering. So, I mean, you have to remember, I've been Muslim now, alhamdulillah, for 18 years. And back then, there weren't many translated books. There wasn't a lot of knowledge. We had to do a lot of research for ourselves. So there wasn't any kind of, you know, nowadays you've got lectures, you've got workshops, you've got all this. There wasn't that back then. We were kind of finding out things for ourselves and teaching ourselves. There wasn't so much of a community in the sense of to be able to teach us. So we were kind of step by step just finding out for ourselves. I think when I got pregnant with my first daughter, that was when the big change came for me. Okay, girls, what are you doing today?
Can you choose a book, Asia?
I'm gonna edit.
Okay, what are you doing, Lucia? Are you fasting? Yeah? Can you choose a book?
The actual day I remember very clear cut with when I decided to actually start to practice Islam properly. I had a knock on my door from an old school friend, and she was actually not a school friend, and she was somebody that we saw as an outsider. She was not cool, she wasn't in the popular group, but she turned up on my door wearing the full hijab, and I then felt like our roles had reversed, because there standing in front of me was what I should be, and there's me, you know, coming out in, I don't know what type of clothes I had on then, but so, you know, and Islam and the hijab had elevated her. So to me, she looked like this real pious woman, and she kind of had this bit of an attitude, and I thought was quite rude, because I was thinking, do you know who I am? You know, this is Anthea you're talking to here. But she said to me, you know, you need to start practicing. What are you going to teach your baby? And I knew that I was having a girl as well, and I'd already named her Sophia. So I knew that I wanted her to have a clean, good Islamic upbringing. And she said, come with me. So she took me to a family in West London, and this really big, black, strong, tall brother kind of gave it to me. He told me off, and he said, you know, you've got to change. And he really said, you know, how are you going to teach your child? What are you going to teach your child? And I wept and I cried, because I knew what he was saying was true. And he said, you know, come and live with us, come and stay with us. So from that point, I decided that I was going to start practicing Islam and learning, and I moved from South London to West London, and it wasn't just me, it was some other people in the community as well. We all kind of made this exodus, left our past behind. I remember going into the club and telling everybody that you're not going to see me again. So we had this farewell party, but I had this big belly, so I was kind of saying to everybody it's because I'm going to have a baby, but it was actually because I was going to now embrace Islam properly, So I kind of gave up absolutely everything. I gave up my family, I gave up my friends, I gave up TV. EastEnders was a big thing in my life. I gave up TV. I completely shut off from the world, which at the time I can understand and I can see the benefits, but I wouldn't do that again because I think it was not good for my non-Muslim family. So I've got Sophia here, who's 16 now, and she's doing media. I have Ruqayya, who's doing lots of different things. She's doing some designing, and we have Asya here, who is just on the basics. She's just learning how to read and write and things like that. I decided to homeschool my children, mainly because we travel a lot around the world. But also, I believe that the classroom is the world. I remember as a child, I didn't like being constricted to just a classroom, this kind of concrete building and a desk and a chair, and I wanted to, explore, and I wanted to do things, but I wasn't able to. And I also didn't want to just learn from books. So sometimes we do follow a curriculum. I mean, there's many different things now, many different companies that follow curriculum, because there's a lot of people that homeschool. But sometimes, if it's a good day, I'll take them out to the countryside. We'll learn outside. If there's a good offer on to go abroad, we'll go abroad. So it's quite flexible. Let's read. Come on then. I know, but we're just going to read. Look, come on, let's read. Come on, ready, go. So now my family, I think, after all these years, we've got a lot of Muslims in our family now who have reverted, a lot of my younger cousins, etc. And with the birth of my children, who are the first-born Muslims in our family, they're very loved. So I think they know that this is to stay now. Sound it out. Yeah. Good girl. This boy, this one is called Safe. The beautiful thing about Islam from a non-Muslim perspective is that when you become a Muslim, it has everything for you. So you're taught how to wash, you're taught how to live your life, how to do business, how to dress, but it's all for the better, so you don't have to ponder and wonder about things in life or work things out. It's kind of this complete book that is tailor-made, and if you try to the best of your ability to follow it, then you will obviously succeed. And I think that's one of the most appealing things about Islam, because we all are trying to be better citizens and better human beings, and it just gives you that code of life. A big part of my life has always been charity. As a young girl, I've always wanted to own an orphanage. But so what I do is now I kind of collect money and take it to places myself. I've been a trustee of a charity for over 10 years, and there was always a lot of arguments as to where the money's going to go and things like that. So now I actually just fundraise myself and take it there, so that I know that it is distributed properly and fairly. we went to Kenya in early 2011, and we went to the slums, and I took myself and my daughter, my brother and another sister, and we went to visit what was absolutely ridiculous conditions for any human being to live in. You'd see 3-year-old children having to fetch water and stand in queues for hours and hours because there'd be only one pump for about 1 million residents. So, you know, it was just absolutely madness. I met a remarkable woman called Mama Fozia, and she was a 60-year-old woman who had dedicated her life to looking after orphans. And you have to bear in mind that a lot of these places are not funded, so they don't have kind of other charities funding them. They just rely on any donations. So we went to visit her, and for me, it was almost like I was looking at myself in years to come, or what I would like to become, because she looked a lot like my grandma as well. So I kind of, you know, bursted into tears, and her works that she's been doing is very inspirational. She used to send food parcels with her husband in the slums, and then when her husband died, you know, she just wanted to give all of her time to looking after orphans, and now she's contracted cancer. So, you know, and all the children in that place, they call her Mama Fozia because she's like the mother for all of them. But it's a very sad situation, and at the same time very inspirational and very, you know, happy because she's able to rescue a lot of these children. And some of these children from the other orphanages were actually found on the rubbish tip. So, you know, they don't actually know who their family is, no members of their family. And there was one boy in particular, he was actually rescued by a dog and brought, you know, to this woman. So I just found that, you know, amazing. But so that's what I like to dedicate my time to. But anything that we do, be it theatre work, or, you know, if it's health related stuff, or anything that I do, I try to include charity as a part of it, so it becomes, you know, part of everything that you do. I grew up with the stage and performing, but now I have a different edge because I'm able to tell stronger messages through my work. You know, we do stuff on all the current issues, like bullying, like women's issues, like, you know, whatever's going on in the media, we try to convey a positive message, try to inspire the youth and adults alike, try to educate, but obviously at the same time still being from that kind of fun and entertainment aspect. So from an Islamic perspective has been, you know, very, very challenging because not a lot of women are in this industry. But I find that it is a very important thing for us to be involved in because the media is huge. It has a lot of influence over the audience. And if we don't spend the time putting out positive messages, then we're missing out this gap. I mean, you know, I spent lots of years going to lectures and workshops and talks and things like that, but now with this modern technology and it moving very fast, I think not only theatre but the media in general, we need to penetrate this more, you know, so that we can play a wider role in society. So after doing our first production in a theatre in London, I was a little bit worried about the response that we'd get from the audience, but it was mind-blowing. We got 4 out of 5 reviews in a very popular magazine. I mean, we left the audience laughing and crying, so it did go well, you know, but it was very worrying because not a lot of women are, like I said, in this industry, But we did it, that particular show was for a female-only production, and I think the women needed something like this to go and, you know, let their hair down and to kind of be in an environment where they felt comfortable.